Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. This is the next to the last channeling session of the year. And it's in a place that my partner calls the homeroom. To him, that just means a place where he started. Hard to believe that it was almost 30 years ago. Hard to believe that the place where he's channeling is very close to where he started channeling. In those early days where he sat in the chair for the first time. There is a tradition here. And the tradition is this, that many times there would be a wrap-up, they say. Perhaps an exposure of things to come. We use this venue for this because it's symbolic of the end and the beginning. And so it is not an exception that tonight we'll go over some things. And all of these things that we wish to speak of and go over, dear ones, precious. If you believe such a thing, this is a voice from the other side of the veil through a human being, coming to you with love and gratitude because you need it and you deserve it. About the things that are changing on the planet, about the perceptions that you may have. And so we become current. And tonight, not only do I wish to discuss certain things, I wish to go beyond that. And the beyond that means I'm going to make some suggestions. And yet again, for those who are listening who are not here, I want to itemize some things that maybe you didn't think of, that need to be thought of, that need to be put together in a way perhaps you are not ready to do because you had to hear it first. Concepts, perhaps, that you need to know about. I'll start to say that everything I'm going to mention here is on your news. In some way, it's on your news. And if you look at it in a certain way, it looks like everything is falling apart. Kryon, it's past 2012 and it looks awful. You said things are going to change to the better. And again, I say, for those of you who would expect a magic fairy to come down and wave a wand and everyone thinks differently, that is not the way it works. Ideas churn through a civilization and a culture in a specific way. Ideas have to go through the barrier of belief, but especially that which we have called the old biases, which say, no, it can't be, or this is the way it is, or this is the way it was, and therefore the way it will be. The ones who say, woe is me, take a look at the awful things, and leave it at that. So let's talk about the awful things, one by one. The soothsayers, the ones that say, we're doomed. These are the ones who see what they see and have a perception of change in their own way. But it's there for you to look at. And dear ones, the first one is going to be American democracy. It's falling apart. And there are those who said this is going to be the demise of America. Because of what we have going on now, looks like the red and the blue hate each other so much, we may have a war in Congress. I expect them to start shooting each other very soon. It's not enough that they call each other names. It's heating up. And that's not what the founding fathers wanted at all. And look, it's falling apart. There's nothing good about it. We're not seeing anything done at all. We told you years ago, dear ones, that your system is systemically broken. And that it might have been good for 250 years ago, but it's stale now. Because consciousness is changing. Well, if it's broken, it's broken. It's almost like we have elected officials and we put them in this glass house of earth and this social media where everybody can see everything and they get to watch the immense dysfunction of America. And they laugh. Billions of people watching it all crumble. That's number one. How do you like it so far? Number two, Kryon, we put our cities in the right place for the right reasons. We're running out of water. Something's happening with water. We have some of our cities who depended on water from certain places since the 30s. I'm sitting right now in one of them called Southern California, who has never had water. And they get their water from up north, where they have water, until recently, where they don't have water. Some cities are stopping the progress of building because they don't have enough water. They can't then water the things that are supposed to grow well in California. And that's just one place that's running out of water. We told you years ago there would be weather change. Do you remember? We told you what you now call several things today. Climate change probably is the most accurate. That there would be times and places that would change so greatly that once where there was water, there would now be none, and sometimes where there was none, there would be an abundance. Some of those who are listening saying right now, we've got too much water. What are you going to do about that? You sit in a state that's in trouble. That's number two. Number three, let's get current. Kryon, do you know about the garbage patch? We've got a garbage patch in the Pacific Ocean the size of Texas. Plastic is everywhere. It's hurting the ocean. It's hurting the life in the ocean. Can't do anything about it. It's just there. What are we going to do? Is this going to be the demise of the environment? Have we now seen what we've done? Everybody's seeing it. That's number three. Number four, Kryon, we have got pollution everywhere. We tried years ago, we tried at the United Nations and failed. Couldn't get the accord going. The pollution continues and continues, and the smokestacks continue and they continue, and we have then the earth heating up, and we have all of these things, and there are cities where you can't even see across to another building. People are coughing in the streets. We got pollution. And it's not getting better. Not that I could see, not that we've been told. Number five. Kryon, there's no way we're going to have enough energy. We keep pumping out all of this electricity, and we can't keep up. We just can't keep up. And then the electricity has to be created, of course, by anything that burns, and we've burned everything. We've got all kinds of ways of making electricity. None of them are safe. And it continues and continues, and it's just like a monster that eats electricity. What are we going to do? There's about 15 more. There's 5. I want to lead you through these 5 in a way, and I'm going to ask you to please be compassionate. Think out of the box of what you have been told. Think out of the box of what the news has put you into, a place of worry and anxiety and wringing your hands and worrying and not being aware of certain kinds of things that we told you were coming. Is your politics broken? Yes, absolutely. Did we tell you that? Yes, absolutely. Does that mean it's doomed? No. When you have something that doesn't work, does it then mean forever it doesn't work? Have you made up your mind in advance that everything that you're seeing is so ugly and so immense that nothing ever can fix it? How many times have we told you what's coming here? Dozens. And yet somehow there are still those who haven't seen it, who don't understand. This is a process, dear ones, that we even warned you about in advance. It's got to break, and it is. And you're seeing it, and it's an embarrassment to the world. What do you think about a system that you have where literally ideas come together, they're discussed, an election happens, and winner takes all? And for 4 years or 8 years, the winner strives to beat up the loser. And then you have another election, and it may reverse, and that winner spends 4 to 8 years gloating and beating up the loser. And in the process of those 4 to 8 years, very little actually gets accomplished for America. You see, it's broken. I told you where it's going. The things that are coming, I want you to watch for. I'm going to call it, and you will laugh, elegant politics. The beginning of what I would call compassionate campaigning. No more name calling. And there's going to emerge a consensus, a confluence in the Congress, in the states, where you don't want to elect a leader or a president that just is one party, because that president will then go into office and do what all the other presidents have done. Favor the one party because the voters wanted it? What if you had a centrist? Get ready for it. And the centrist said, I'm going to run for president because I can create agreement. I am good at negotiations. I'm good at knowing where they should go to compromise or not. I'm going to get things done. I don't represent either side, you see. Now, how many of you might be interested in that? Yeah? You feel it, don't you? Well, so will others. It's not that hard. So is it really broken, or does it simply need a compassionate tweak? You see? You see? And that would be called evolution. I'll tell you this, if you don't do it, other nations will. They see it coming too. You need a leader who can lead. And this is not an indictment of the current leader, it's an indictment of the system of winner takes all. This would be the evolution of democracy all over the planet. And it's time. How soon is it coming, Kryon? Yes. And there will be those of you who say, not soon enough. Listen, there are those who will hear this and agree. There will be those who have an aha moment. There may be even politicians who say, that's what I've been waiting to hear. I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to give it a try. I'm going to be compassionate. And probably they will lose for a while. Because these kinds of things are not trusted yet. Well, he's got something he's hiding. She's not going to make it because I don't believe that she can actually do what she says or be compassionate. Oh, they're just holding back. They're not calling names yet, but you wait until they get in. But all of this is old bias, because you expect the worst. So how about the old souls listening to this? Start to expect the best. That's what it's going to take. You want to know how fast? It depends upon you. Kryon, we're running out of water. I want to give you a visualization right now. Let's pretend, just pretend, because you're on the edge of the Pacific Ocean, this is viable. Every single one in this room knows what it looks like to go to the ocean and look out and see that vast amount of water. And to look out upon it and sigh when the sun goes down and say, this is a beautiful place. Okay, let's extend that. What if every drop of water that you see in the ocean suddenly becomes viably drinkable? Would that change anything for you? And the answer is, are you kidding? You mean we can use the ocean? You always could. But it was difficult because the technology of desalination required heat and cost and electricity, none of which were there to have, and it was too slow. I am telling you there's something coming, and we've even given you hints of how it works. Let's expand that. You need to hear it again. For those who've never heard it, you need to hear it again. It's simple. You know, these things are not really simple, but the arrangement, the process, the idea is simple. And then there will those who will go with it, and it may take a couple of years for them to understand how to do it correctly. But that's how all inventions work. Once you have the initial idea, here's the initial idea. Are you ready? Make salt magnetic. And then pull it out of the water in real time with electromagnets. You can make salt magnetic in several ways, dear ones. I throw the gauntlet out to the inventors. Make salt magnetic. You will have a system then where you can have real-time pass-through desalination without heat and without holding tanks. Comes in salty, goes out fresh. You pass it through 2 or 3 times, but eventually goes in salty, comes out fresh. You know those big tankers that carry 1 million barrels of oil? I want you to think for a moment of 1 million barrels of salt water converted to fresh in a tanker that can also have a desalination plant within it. Just make salt magnetic and then pull out the salt with electromagnets, and you can do it. And there are some idea light bulbs going on right now to those listening to this. Do you realize this? Without heat in real time, that's how it's going to be done. That tanker, by the way, and the reason I bring it up, that can sit off your shore and do this. You don't even need land for it. Better still, it can go to places that don't have any fresh water now. and start making it. Millions of barrels at a time. That is what's coming. And the ocean then becomes the resource. Not a resource that is going to hurt the ocean at all. It's going to water your crops. It's going to feed you. It's going to bring water to this state if you allow it, if you let it. Why would anyone object to this? You'll have to ask the objectors. They'll have reasons. And perhaps they'll say, yes, but what Kryon's not telling you is that there's going to be a lot of electricity involved here. Well, just stay tuned for a minute. I haven't got there yet. Kryon, we got this garbage patch. I want to ask you a question. You mean it was clean yesterday, and today you've got a garbage patch? And you will say, well, no, it took a while. Well, how long? And here's the answer. Since the invention of plastic. That's how long. Now, what do we have? 80, 90 years? That's how long that has accumulated in your ocean. It didn't just appear, dear ones. But something did just appear. You just discovered it. Not really. It was known 10 years ago. It was known 15 years ago. It's just that you didn't care. Now you do. Dear ones, welcome to the evolution of consciousness for yourself, for the planet, for existence. It's a worldwide event, and now it's news. It's been there for decades, getting bigger and bigger, and now you've discovered it. Not really. Now everyone knows about it, and now you'll have those who've decided to do something about it. Do you need new inventions? Not really. It's pretty simple. You just need funding to get out there and collect it. And you'll say, well, it's way too much to collect. If you do it slowly, in large amounts, over a period of time, it will start to reduce. Over a period of time, it'll even get smaller. There'll come a day when you celebrate the fact that the garbage patch is gone and that you did it. Because somebody funded it and somebody cared about the ocean, and that somebody is going to be human beings on this planet, and that's what's different. You act as though you're so alarmed that something that's been there for decades, like it just showed up yesterday on your backyard. The difference is awareness, caring, consciousness. Kryon, we have too much pollution. Yes, you do. And this is where it gets dicey, and I'll tell you why. Because every time I talk about this, there are objectors. There are those who might even leave the room. Because what I tell you is not what you've been told. What I tell you is this. You got too much pollution. Now stay tuned, because the next one I'm going to tell you a little bit about how to get rid of it. But for now, here's what I tell you about your pollution. And a lot of the other things that you suddenly are noticing with all of your instruments and all of the scientists. This pollution is killing you. It is not killing the earth. That's controversial. Keep pouring it out. If you want to die, and if you will, civilizations will go away and the earth will be just fine, thank you. It always has been. The earth is resilient and will recover even from humanity. So here is your instruction for the day. Stop polluting, because you're killing yourself. But the earth is currently in a cycle. And that cycle corresponds to this movement that you have of killing yourself. And so you then apply it to the planet and say, all of these things that are happening to the planet, you're causing it. Here comes the controversy. No, you're not. No, you're not. I'll say it again. climate change that you are experiencing, including that which is the heating of the atmosphere, is cyclical. And the earth has done it before. And why your climatologists are not reporting it is because they haven't really looked at the records clearly. If you want to look at the ice cores and the tree rings, you're going to discover something amazing. That the earth does this on a regular basis. Go up into Alaska and talk to the indigenous about the movement of glaciers. They come and they go, and they come and they go, and they come and they go. Now, while you were born, they were there. Now they're leaving, and you're having a fit. Do you see what I'm saying? And if you want to talk about how often the cycles happen, there's cycles within cycles. There's 400-year cycles, 1,600-year cycles. And they go from hot to cold. And they do it so that the earth has a way of rejuvenating itself. We've said it before. If you have a fish tank, no matter how well you take care of it and aerate the water and the chemistry, no matter what you do, there comes a time when you got to change the water. Well, the earth cannot change the water. What it can do is with temperatures, it can rejuvenate itself, rejuvenate the fish, the life, all of these things, and it does it on a regular basis. But you've only been here a little while. You've never seen it. Not really. You're new. Can you imagine just for a moment, let's just pretend for a moment, that the lifespan of a human being was 2 months. Now that means you never saw winter, spring, fall, or summer. So let's just say in the 2 months that you're alive, doing your thing and all that, having all of your opinions, it just happens to be winter is approaching. And you've been through summer, and here comes winter, and all of the trees are starting to die, and the leaves are falling off. What are you going to do? Woe is me. The earth is dying. You have no idea. It does it every year. The leaves all fall off. The trees look awful. It looks like everything is dead for a while. And then here comes winter. If it wasn't bad enough, something called snow. He never saw that either. You see what I'm saying? There are bigger cycles you haven't been through yet. And yet the earth will give this information to you if you look for it. Meanwhile, the fearmongers are out saying, you've hurt the earth, you can't recover, you're doomed. This is really controversial now, what I'm going to tell you. You know that ozone layer? Remember that hole in the ozone caused by all those fluorocarbons and those things that you cleaned up in the last 30 years? You see, that ozone layer is closing up now. Congratulations for not understanding anything. Did you know that the ozone in general on the earth is starting to thin? Now, why don't you go back to the 60s and find out something they found out, that the ozone layer is relational to the magnetic field of the earth. Welcome to magnetic shift. The ozone would have done what it did, even if you weren't here. It's part of what happens on this planet on a regular basis. It's part of what happens in the radiant sun cycles. It's part of the shift of this planet and how it adjusts itself. And it's doing it again so that the humanity that is here in abundance and that will get more abundant and more populate will be able to have the food you need. How does that sound? That's controversial. Climate change is happening as it always has. And you're seeing the leaves fall off the tree and you're calling for help. You didn't cause it, dear ones. The pollution you're pouring into the air is killing you. That's not good. Clean it up. But this earth of yours, they know what they're doing. They, the Gaia, the elementals, all of the multidimensional life that has been here all along, churning through these cycles long before you ever got here to complain about them. That's controversial. I want to talk about energy. You're starting to see the value of electricity and the storage of it. More than ever before, you're seeing industry start to recognize that one of the key elements of everything you've ever done to create power has to be eliminated, and it's called heat. Every time you need to make power, you need heat. You need heat for steam, and steam then powers turbines which turn and then create electricity for you. And whether you're burning oil or whether you're burning coal or whether you're burning anything, you still have to have heat. So you're always going to burn something. There's some technologies out there that are showing you how you can burn things without smoke, but that's not the answer. The answer is don't burn anything. The answer is no heat. Kryon, you can't do this without heat. We told you that there's free heat if you wanted it. While you're burning all of these resources and pouring smoke into the atmosphere, we told you it's right below your feet. And the answer that the scientists gave to Kryon, they said, you mean geothermal? And Kryon says, yes. He says, it's too hard to get to. The hole you'd have to drill is it's technically impossible to drill a hole and have that to pick up the heat you need. It's free heat and you can have free energy and all that. We don't have the technology. It's just too hard. Let me interpret what you just said. We don't want to spend the money on that. We'd rather build a nuclear reactor, which has probably cost more. Now, have you seen the folly of nuclear power in the last few years, dear ones? You have had only 2 events so far on this planet with a runaway nuclear reactor. And I'm telling you, both those incidents are still poisoning the earth. They're poisoning humans. They're poisoning the land. They're poisoning the ocean. How do you like that safe power you built? It's the most dangerous thing you've ever done. For humanity, for yourself, and it's cost a fortune. And if you had put that money into geothermal, you'd know how to dig a hole and get heat. But I'm not talking about digging a hole. Free energy has been the holy grail, if I can use the word, for a long time. Now, there's no such thing as free energy. First law of thermodynamics shows that energy cannot be created or destroyed. It simply changes form. So free energy isn't free energy. It's the description of energy you get from an unexpected source that does not get depleted. Is it possible? Oh, it's right in front of you. It's always been right in front of you. And it's called magnetics. I just want to paint a picture. If I haven't done it before, only this time I'm going to get more specific. Have you ever played with permanent unidirectional magnets? These are simply magnets that attract very powerfully and repel very powerfully, depending upon how you position them and the plus and the minus. Some of them are so powerful that 2 grown men could not pull them apart. 2 grown men could not push them together. Imagine 2 grown men trying to push a positive and a negative together on magnets that are so strong that they simply will not go together. And the men would push and push and push. Question, what's the duration of the pushing before those magnets would go together? How do you like forever? Welcome to a power source. Are you understanding this? Magnetics has always been there. It pushes and it pulls. That's what it does. It pushes and it pulls. Have you ever seen a steam engine? Have you ever seen anything that makes power? It needs to push and it needs to pull. I want to tell you about a little engine. The little engine of magnetics. These are permanent magnets. There's no electricity involved, and you position them in a certain way on wheels, multiple wheels, where they would push and pull each other in such a clever way that they would push and pull each other until the wheels disintegrated and you had to get new wheels. But the magnets would continue and continue, and it would go for an eternity. Are you interested? And then there were those who would say, well, what good does a couple of wheels going around do for us? I'll tell you. And the inventors know this. Number one, I'm going to tell you a secret. I'm going to reveal something to an inventor listening to this who needs to know it, who has been working on that engine and really cannot get to first base. How can you make these things push and pull in a way? There's always a drawback. I'm not going to go into it. I'm not going to go into the failure. I'm not going to go into the pluses and the minuses and why it doesn't work every time. And I will tell you, there's a twist to it, Mr. Inventor. Your wheels should be Mobius strips. I just gave it away. If you know what a Mobius strip is, now you know the joke. There's a twist to it. There's a configuration using Mobius strips and discs and magnetics that are permanent that will push and pull on each other in a way where they will continue and continue and continue and be 100% efficient. And then you have a wheel that goes around, and it doesn't matter how big or small it is. When any wheel goes around, it can make a little electricity. Are you with me? Now, that little electricity could then be connected to another larger wheel, which is electromagnets. In fact, that could be a very, very large wheel. Electromagnets have maybe 10 times the power. Now you have the same system and the same shape and the same Mobius strip, only these magnets are really powerful, and now you've got something that'll push and pull in a really, really big way. And yet you still don't have something that's really big. You can have power plants that will cover in just a few houses, dear ones. The grid is no longer necessary. Private power, free, using magnetics, is coming. And it's everything you'll ever need. You know those ships, those places that are using electrics for desalination? They got plenty of electricity using this method. They don't need to burn anything. Can you imagine an Earth without smokestacks? This can be applied to anything where you need push-pull energy. There are those listening right now that just had the aha that they asked for. Is this too far-fetched? Is this too science fiction-y for any of you? Or is it something that is so eminently practical that you might sit back and go, whoa, there could be promise? And the reason is because every objection to any of these is old energy, the way it used to be and the way you used to do it. The way it used to be and the way you used to do it is moving out. Watch for private industry to create this, not government. That will be the other secret. What you've counted on your governments to do because of their size and their funding, and because of the way government works, can be replaced by private industry, which then has an interest to do it more efficiently and better and to serve you and do a good job. Something governments don't necessarily have. Private industry. It's going to happen. Kryon, when are these things going to happen? Yes. When you support them and see them and don't think it's crazy. When you look for them in the news, when they start to be announced, when somebody comes up with it and you say, well, I heard that in a Kryon meeting. Now, I haven't given anything this day which hasn't already been worked on, thought of, and in the process. And that should give you hope. Patience, dear ones. Most benevolent outcome. Don't wring your hands. This is the end of the channel. Don't wring your hands. I want you to start thinking about this. You passed the marker of 2012. It was always known that if you had passed this marker, and the ancients said it, that there would be a new human, a new humanity, a new consciousness. Does it make sense that the Creator who put you here in all your magnificence would say, look, they passed the marker. Good, let's snuff them out now. And that's what you're being told. Spiritual organizations will tell you, well, you know, the Armageddon is still coming, that war that you haven't had for 80 years, well, still coming, you know. Your science fiction films, they say it all. There's been a shift of doom bias. And for the last 20 years, it's all been about a post-apocalyptic Earth. Aftermath of nuclear. And now that's getting old, isn't it? That's getting old because it didn't happen. It didn't happen. Oh, they're shifting now. Now it's going to be an Earth that is so hot, nobody can stand it. In fact, it's so hot, aliens who love heat are going to come and take over. That's where it's going. How do you like what the script writers have decided to do for you? Give you doom on doom on doom. Look forward to some fresh air science fiction where the aliens are trying to help. Where the aliens want you and want your help and know things you don't know. And maybe, just maybe, along the line, there'll be somebody who comes to this earth from another planet and looks at you and say, you mean you don't know? And you say, we don't know what? You don't know? And you say, we don't know what? And they shine like the sun, like an angel, and they say, you're magnificent in the eyes of God. This Creator, I know this Creator. The universe knows this Creator. There's some of us in the galaxy that know this Creator, and you don't? What's wrong with you? You're magnificent. You're part of creation. You're beautiful. Nobody told you? Yeah, I've been telling you. I've been telling you for almost 30 years. Things do not have to go bad here. You are in a change that begs you, literally, to say, it's possible. Wow. Are you aware of the power of multiple consciousnesses? You change things, you change the field, you change the integrity of thought when many human beings together are thinking in the same track. When they have a coherence of thought, when they're saying, I see it coming, there's an invention coming, we don't know about it, we don't know how it works, but we feel it's coming. There's another Tesla on the way. There may be numbers of them. They only may be 12 years old, but that doesn't stop it because in a couple of years, they'll be old enough to put it together. We feel it coming. We celebrate it in advance. That's an old soul, dear ones. That's a mature, new human being. Countering the ones that would say, we're doomed. I can give you 18 reasons why we're doomed. Of course, I got them all on the news, but that's just the way it is. I love humans who are starting to see their magnificence and understanding. There's more here than you think. A lot more. A lot more. And so it is.